Welcome to the world of science fiction, where extraordinary tales come to life. Enjoy the journey. The door to Max Tremble's cabin burst open, revealing a blue-skinned beauty with tentacles for hair. Her iridescent skin glowed in the dim light of the ship's corridor. "My father will be here in 20 minutes, she panted, her 3 violet eyes wide with panic. "He's bringing his entire security force." Max groaned, jumping out of bed and grabbing his pants off the floor. "I thought you said he was off-planet until next week." "He came back early." She twisted her tentacle hair nervously. "He doesn't like humans." "Nobody likes humans until they sleep with one," Max muttered, yanking a shirt over his head and grabbing his blaster from under the pillow. "No offense." "None taken. Your stamina is impressive." She blushed a deeper shade of blue. Max winked despite the chaos. "I get that a lot." This wasn't the first time a romantic encounter had turned into a life-or-death situation, and it probably wouldn't be the last. As a human in the outer reaches, Max had developed something of a reputation, partly from that viral holo-vid 3 years ago where he'd rescued the azure-skinned daughter of a Proxima Prime diplomat from space pirates. The footage of him carrying her half-naked form through laser fire had made him an overnight sensation. Unfortunately, the diplomat hadn't appreciated his daughter's subsequent interest in exploring human mating rituals. 3 years of hiding later, and Max was still occasionally recognized as that crazy Earthling from the vid. 15 minutes and one daring escape later, Max's ship, the Lucky Bastard, broke atmosphere and punched into hyperspace, leaving the angry blue patriarch and his security forces far behind. "That was close," Max sighed, leaning back in the pilot's chair. The dashboard lights played across his stubbled jawline as he set the autopilot. His dark hair was tousled and a fresh bruise was forming on his left cheekbone, a souvenir from their hasty exit. The comms unit beeped. Max groaned, expecting threats from the blue-skinned father. Instead, the grizzled face of Jorax, his broker, appeared. "Tremble, you're late with your payment again." Jorax's reptilian features contorted into what passed for a frown among his species. "I'm working on it." Max stretched, feigning casualness. "Got a line on a big score." "You better." Jorax leaned closer to the screen, his yellow eyes narrowing. "The Syndicate doesn't appreciate delays. You've got 3 days, or I start sending collectors, and they won't be as charming as me." The screen went black before Max could respond. He swore under his breath and kicked the console, wincing as pain shot through his foot. 3 days to come up with 50,000 credits. Perfect. Vegra 7 loomed in the view screen, a glittering jewel against the void of space. If Las Vegas and Bangkok had a bastard child and raised it in a radioactive wasteland, it would be Vegra 7. The planet was a haven for gamblers, thrill seekers, and those who preferred to keep their activities off official records. Max landed at Docking Bay 42, paying the port authority their special fee to keep his arrival quiet. The spaceport hummed with activity, traders hawking exotic wares, mercenaries negotiating contracts, and pleasure bots advertising their services with holographic displays that left little to the imagination. "Hey, aren't you that human from the holo-vid?" called a tentacled vendor selling what appeared to be some kind of fried insect on a stick. "Nope," Max replied without breaking stride. "Just have one of those faces." He made his way through the crowded streets, dodging hover cars and avoiding eye contact with the numerous security drones. His destination was the Nebula, a dive bar tucked away in one of Vegra 7's less reputable districts. The Nebula reeked of exotic intoxicants and bad decisions. A 3-armed bartender nodded at Max as he entered. The usual crowd of mercenaries, smugglers, and other disreputable types filled the dimly lit space. "Tremble," a voice called from a shadowy booth. "Just the human I was hoping to see." Draz, a portly Valerian with crimson skin and small horns protruding from his forehead, waved Max over. Beside him sat a creature that appeared to be mostly teeth and eyeballs. "Draz, still alive, I see." Max slid into the booth, keeping one hand near his blaster. "What's the job?" "No job." Draz grinned, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. But there's an opportunity. Underground casino. Invitation only. He slid a black card across the table. Tonight. Big game. Cosmic roulette. Max picked up the card, examining the holographic symbol that shifted under his gaze. What's the buy-in? That's the beauty. Draz's eyes gleamed. The stakes aren't credits. Then what? Lives. Draz leaned forward, lowering his voice. You bet a portion of your life expectancy. The house has tech that can extract it. Max scoffed. And why would I risk my years? Because the prize isn't credits either. Draz's companion finally spoke, its voice a wet gurgle. It's a high-born Ilkaris female, worth millions on the right market. Max's eyebrows shot up. The Ilkaris were legendary, a race of green-skinned humanoids with psychic abilities and regenerative powers. They rarely left their homeworld and were considered the elite of the galaxy. The idea that one would be offered as a prize was outrageous. Sounds like a scam, Max said, though his interest was piqued. It's legitimate. Draz tapped the card. The girl was captured during a raid on a diplomatic vessel. The organizers couldn't risk selling her through normal channels, too much heat, so they're disposing of her through the game. Max considered his options. If he could win an Ilkaris, he could potentially sell her back to her people for enough to clear his debts 10 times over, or keep her as an asset for future operations. Either way, it would solve his immediate problem. Fine, he decided. I'll check it out. The underground casino was hidden beneath an abandoned factory on the outskirts of Vegra 7's main city. Max showed his invitation to a hulking doorman who scanned him for weapons before allowing him inside. The interior was surprisingly lavish, crystal chandeliers, plush carpets, and servers carrying trays of exotic beverages. The clientele was exclusively high-end, crime lords, corrupt officials, and wealthy thrill-seekers. At the center of the room stood a large circular table with a strange device hovering above it. The device pulsed with an eerie blue light, tendrils of energy occasionally lashing out. That's the extractor, murmured a voice beside him. A slender woman with metallic skin smiled at Max. It takes the years you bet and adds them to the pot. Winner takes all. Sounds risky, Max replied, accepting a drink from a passing server. That's the point. She sipped her own beverage, her silver lips leaving no residue on the glass. I've seen people bet decades and lose. They walk in looking like you and leave as withered husks. Max suppressed a shudder. And the prize tonight? I heard it's an Ilkaris. The woman nodded, gesturing toward a transparent pod at the far end of the room. Inside, a figure sat with her back to the crowd. They're keeping her sedated. Don't want those psi powers active in a place like this. Max made his way toward the pod, curious despite himself. As he approached, the figure inside stirred and turned. His breath caught in his throat. She was stunning. Her skin was a deep emerald green that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Long, silky hair, black with silver highlights, framed a face of otherworldly beauty. Her features were delicate yet strong, with high cheekbones and full lips. Her eyes, when they fluttered open, were a brilliant silver that seemed to pierce right through him. The Ilkaris woman noticed him staring and narrowed her eyes. Even sedated, the contempt in her gaze was unmistakable. Like what you see, Earthling, called out one of the casino staff, a thin man with cybernetic enhancements. Game starts in 10 minutes. Final chance to register. Max tore his gaze away from the woman and nodded. I'm in. The game of cosmic roulette was deceptively simple. Each player bet years of their life on numbers. The extractor hovered over the table, drawing glowing strands of energy from the participants, visible representations of their life force. When the betting concluded, a small neutron star fragment was released into the device, its gravitational pull determining the winning number as it stabilized in orbit. Max bet cautiously at first, losing only a few months. He felt each loss as a slight weakening, a subtle drain of vitality. But as the game progressed, he grew bolder, betting larger portions of his life. 2 hours in, only 3 players remained. Max, a reptilian crime lord named Screet, and a mysterious figure in a hooded cloak. All in, Screet hissed. pushing forward a glowing orb representing 15 years of his life. The hooded figure folded immediately. Max hesitated, then nodded. Call. The extractor pulled a thick stream of energy from Max's chest. He gasped, clutching the edge of the table as weakness washed over him. His vision blurred momentarily, and he felt a strange hollowness inside. The neutron fragment danced through the field, finally settling into orbit around Max's number. Screet roared in anger, his scaled face contorting with rage. Impossible! Max managed a weak smile, though he felt decades older. Just lucky, I guess. The casino manager approached, holding a control device. Congratulations, Earthling. The Ilkaris female is yours, along with the accumulated life force. He pressed a button, and the extractor reversed its flow, channeling the collected energy back into Max. Strength rushed through him like a tide, restoring what he'd lost and then some. He straightened, feeling more vital than he had in years. The sedation will wear off in approximately 1 hour, the manager explained, handing Max a control bracelet. This will allow you to administer more if necessary. It also serves as proof of ownership under Outer Rim slavery laws. Max took the bracelet, suddenly uncomfortable with the transaction. He'd planned to ransom her back to her people, not keep her as a slave. But for now, he needed to play along. The pod containing the Ilkaris woman hissed open. Without the barrier between them, her beauty was even more striking. Her silver eyes locked onto Max's, and despite her sedated state, the hatred in them was unmistakable. "What's her name?" Max asked, slipping the bracelet onto his wrist. "Alicia Judds," the manager replied, "daughter of an Ilkaris High Counselor. Quite a prize. Remember, under Outer Rim law, you have full rights over her, but you're also responsible for her actions." Max nodded, offering his hand to help Alicia stand. She ignored it, rising unsteadily on her own. "I don't need your help. Human," she spat, her voice melodic despite the venom in her words. "That's fine," Max replied easily, "but we should get going before our reptilian friend decides he wants a rematch." He gestured toward Screet, who was watching them with murderous intent, surrounded by his bodyguards. Alicia swayed slightly, the sedative still affecting her coordination. Despite her protests, Max placed a steadying hand on her elbow. "Touch me again," she whispered fiercely, "and you'll find out what an Ilkaris can do, even drugged." Max sighed. This was going to be a long night. Lasers tore through the air as Max dragged Alicia through the back corridors of Vegra 7's underground casino. Screet's men were in hot pursuit, the reptilian crime lord unwilling to accept his loss with dignity. "This is your fault," Alicia hissed, her emerald skin gleaming under the flashing emergency lights. The sedatives were wearing off faster than expected, her natural Ilkaris metabolism burning through the chemicals. "I was perfectly fine before you won me." "Yeah, perfectly fine in a cage," Max retorted, yanking her around a corner just as a blast scorched the wall where they'd been standing. "And you're welcome, by the way." He tapped his wrist communicator. "Rusty, prep the lucky bastard for immediate takeoff. Authorization code. Earth girls are easy." A synthetic voice crackled back. "Acknowledged, Captain, though I find your authorization codes increasingly problematic." Max grinned despite the danger. His ship's AEI had developed a personality quirk that manifested as perpetual disapproval of his life choices. They burst through a service exit into the neon-drenched streets of Vegra 7's entertainment district. Rain fell in sheets, turning the garish holographic advertisements into watercolor smears across buildings. "My ship's 3 blocks from here," Max said, pulling Alicia into the shelter of a doorway. "Can you run?" She straightened her shoulders, silver eyes flashing. "I am a Tier 1 graduate of the Ilkaris Elite Academy. I can outrun any human, even one who reeks of desperation and cheap intoxicants." "That's the spirit," Max replied with a wink. "On 3. 1. Alicia was already running, her long legs carrying her gracefully through the rain. Max cursed and sprinted after her. The lucky bastard wasn't much to look at. A modified TR-45 cargo hauler with mismatched hull plates and questionable retrofits, but it was fast and, more importantly, it was paid for. Mostly. "This is your ship?" Alicia asked, her tone dripping with disdain as the loading ramp descended. "No, it's my luxury space yacht disguised as a piece of junk to avoid taxes," Max replied, shoving her up the ramp as blaster fire erupted from the alley behind them. "Get in." The ship's interior was surprisingly clean, if cramped. The main cabin doubled as a cargo hold, with a small galley and living quarters branching off to one side. The cockpit rose on a platform at the front. "Rusty, get us out of here," Max shouted, leaping into the pilot's chair. "Calculating optimal escape vectors," the AI responded calmly. "Also, you have 17 new messages. 14 are from creditors. 3 are from females of varying species expressing interest in your human attributes." Alicia raised an eyebrow. "Not now, Rusty," Max growled, firing up the engines. The ship shuddered to life, repulsors lifting it off the landing pad as more blaster fire peppered the hull. "Hold on to something," Max warned, gripping the controls. He slammed the thrusters to maximum, sending the lucky bastard rocketing upward at a stomach-churning angle. Alicia stumbled but recovered quickly, gripping a support beam. Despite her obvious disdain, Max caught the flash of impression in her eyes at his piloting skills. They broke atmosphere in record time, the ship's engines howling in protest. "Calculating hyperspace jump," Rusty announced. "No time," Max countered, spotting 3 pursuit vessels on the scanner. "Manual evasion pattern, the Loco Special." "Captain, that maneuver has a 37% chance of structural failure." "I like those odds," Max replied, yanking the controls hard. The lucky bastard spun into a series of barrel rolls and unpredictable directional changes that no autopilot would ever attempt. The pursuing ships, relying on targeting computers, couldn't get a lock. Alicia clung to her handhold, her face betraying a mixture of terror and reluctant admiration. Max caught her eye and winked before executing a particularly reckless dive that sent one pursuer crashing into Vegra 7's upper atmosphere. "You're insane," she gasped. "So I've been told." Max grinned, pulling up sharply and engaging the hyperdrive mid-maneuver. Stars stretched into lines around them as they escaped into the safety of hyperspace. "Jump successful," Rusty announced, though I feel compelled to mention that was unnecessarily dramatic. Max released the controls, slumping back in his chair. What fun would it be otherwise? 2 hours later, Max received a transmission from Jorax. The reptilian broker's face filled the cockpit's main screen. "Tremble, I see you've acquired an asset," Jorax said, his tongue flicking out to taste the air, "and made an enemy of Screet in the process." "All in a day's work," Max replied casually, though internally he wondered how Jorax already knew. "What do you want?" "I have a job. A simple delivery to Kronos. High pay, low risk." Jorax's eyes narrowed. "It would clear your debt with the syndicate." Max's interest peaked. "What's the cargo?" "An artifact. Ancient. Valuable to collectors." Jorax's image was replaced by a rotating hologram of what looked like a crystalline sphere with intricate engravings. "You pick it up at the Nexus station. Deliver it to our contact on Kronos. Simple." "Nothing's ever simple with you, Jorax." The broker's image returned, his expression serious. "The Ilcaris female. Is she cooperative?" Max glanced back toward the cabin where Alicia was exploring her new quarters with obvious contempt. "She's adjusting." "Keep her close," Jorax advised. "An Ilcaris on the open market would start a war, but as your legal property under Outer Rim law, she's protected. For now." After the transmission ended, Max leaned back, considering the offer. Clear his debt with one job? Too good to be true. But refusing wasn't an option. The syndicate didn't take rejection well. He headed to the cabin to find Alicia. She had claimed the ship's single sleeping quarters and was examining the sparse furnishings with a critical eye. "These accommodations are primitive," she stated, "and this sleeping platform is uncomfortable." "It's called a bed, Princess," Max replied, leaning against the doorframe, "and it's the only one on the ship. I'll take the crash couch in the cabin." She looked surprised at this concession. "I'm not the monster you think I am," Max said. "I'm not planning to keep you as a slave. Once we're far enough from Vegra 7, we can discuss getting you back to your people." Alicia's silver eyes narrowed suspiciously. Why would you return a valuable asset? Because I don't believe in slavery, Max replied simply. But I do believe in profit. I figure your family would pay handsomely for your safe return. Ah, there's the human I expected. Her tone was ice. Max shrugged. A man's gotta eat. And what am I supposed to do until this ransom negotiation? We're heading to Nexus Station to pick up a delivery job. You can stay on the ship or come along. Your choice. Alicia considered for a moment. I will accompany you. I've never been to Nexus Station. Max raised an eyebrow. Really? The famous pleasure hub of the Outer Rim? I thought you Ilkaris were supposed to be well-traveled diplomats. We are diplomats, not tourists, she replied stiffly. Our travels are restricted to official business on civilized worlds. Well, Princess, prepare to experience uncivilized at its finest. Nexus Station hung in space like a glittering wheel, its spokes connecting a central hub to an outer ring that pulsed with light and energy. Known throughout the galaxy as where the party never stops, the station was technically neutral territory, a designation that allowed every possible vice to flourish. Rusty, dock us at Beta Section, Max instructed as they approached. Less security, fewer questions. Acknowledged, Captain. Might I suggest the Princess remain inconspicuous? Ilkaris are rarely seen in this sector. Good point. Max tossed Alicia a hooded cloak. Wear this. Your green skin will attract attention. I'm not ashamed of my heritage, she replied, though she took the cloak. It's not about shame. It's about not getting kidnapped. Again. The docking process was smooth, and soon they were making their way through the crowded corridors of Nexus Station. Even with the hood shadowing her face, Alicia drew admiring glances. Her natural grace and perfect posture marked her as someone extraordinary. Max led her through a labyrinth of shops, bars, and gambling establishments. The air was thick with exotic spices, smoke, and the mingled perfumes of a dozen species. Max, is that you? A sultry voice called out. A voluptuous woman with iridescent purple skin and 4 arms pushed through the crowd. It is you, the famous human hero. She threw all 4 arms around Max, pressing herself against him in a way that left little to the imagination. Everyone, look, it's the human from the vid. Several patrons turned, recognition dawning on their faces. Hey, it's the guy who rescued the Proxima diplomat's daughter. Can I get a holo with you? Max extricated himself from the 4-armed woman's embrace. Sorry, Quattro, not today. I'm on business. Quattro pouted, which somehow involved all 3 of her lips. You promised me a private demonstration of human endurance last time. Rain check, Max replied with a wink. He grabbed Alicia's arm and pulled her through the crowd, ignoring the whispers and pointing fingers that followed. What was that about? Alicia demanded once they were clear. Just some fans, Max muttered. I had a moment of fame a few years back. The Proxima diplomat's daughter? That was you? Max winced. You saw that vid? Everyone saw that vid, Alicia replied. You carried her half-naked through a firefight. It was quite impressive. It wasn't my finest moment, Max admitted. Her father hunted me for 3 years afterward. Turns out Proxima diplomats are traditional about their daughter's virtue. They reached a quieter section of the station where upscale shops catered to the wealthier visitors. Max approached a nondescript door marked only with a small blue symbol. Wait here, he instructed Alicia. This won't take long. I think not, she replied firmly. I have no intention of being left alone in this den of debauchery. Max sighed. Fine, but let me do the talking. Inside was a pristine showroom displaying artifacts from across the galaxy. A tall, elegant woman with metallic gold skin greeted them. Maxim Tremble, she purred. It's been too long. Serafina. Max nodded. I believe you have a package for me. Serafina's gold eyes flicked to Alicia, narrowing slightly. Interesting company you're keeping these days. She disappeared into a back room and returned with a small case. The coordinates for delivery are encoded in this chip. The payment will transfer upon successful handoff. Max took the case and the chip. Pleasure doing business. As they turned to leave, Serafina called out, Max, there's a celebration tonight in the Grand Dome, the Galactic Confluence. You should come. Bring your friend. The Grand Dome lived up to its name, a massive transparent hemisphere at the top of Nexus Station's central hub, offering breathtaking views of the surrounding stars and nebulae. Tonight it was transformed into a spectacular ballroom for the Galactic Confluence, an annual celebration of interstellar cooperation that mostly served as an excuse for the galaxy's elite to flaunt their wealth. Max had somehow procured appropriate attire for both of them. He wore a sleek black suit with subtle earthen touches, a crimson silk tie that matched the piping on his jacket. Alicia reluctantly admitted to herself that he cleaned up remarkably well. For her, he'd found a flowing gown of silver material that complemented her emerald skin perfectly. Without her hood, her exotic beauty drew every eye in the room. "You look," Max began, then seemed at a loss for words. "Adequate," Alicia suggested coolly. "Breathtaking," he corrected. "Even by Ilkara's standards, I'd wager." A faint blush darkened her green cheeks. "You are surprisingly well versed in formal attire for a smuggler." "I contain multitudes," Max replied with a grin, offering his arm. "Shall we mingle? The artifact is safely locked on the ship. We can enjoy one night of luxury before heading to Kronos." The party was in full swing. Dignitaries, wealthy merchants, and the occasional celebrity danced and conversed under floating lights that changed color with the music. Servers circulated with exotic delicacies and rare spirits. Alicia was surprised to discover that Max was an excellent dancer, guiding her through steps of dances she'd never encountered but somehow making her look graceful. "Where did you learn to dance like this?" she asked as he spun her expertly. "You pick things up when you travel," he replied vaguely. "I wasn't always a smuggler, you know." Before she could inquire further, they were interrupted by a blue-skinned woman in a revealing dress. "Alicia? Alicia Judds?" Alicia froze. "Zora? What are you doing here?" "Diplomatic mission," Zora replied, her 3 eyes wide with surprise. "But what are you doing here? With a human?" Max excused himself tactfully, heading toward the bar while the women caught up. "It's complicated," Alicia said. "We're business associates." Zora leaned in conspiratorially. "Be careful with humans, Alicia, especially the males. They have disturbing customs." "What do you mean? You didn't know?" Zora's voice dropped to a whisper. "On Earth, men eat their wives." Alicia's blood ran cold. "What?" "It's true," Zora insisted. "I heard it from a reliable source. After the mating ritual, if the woman isn't satisfactory in bed, the man simply eats her." Alicia's eyes darted to Max at the bar. He was sampling something red and juicy, tearing into it with obvious relish. "Oh no," she whispered. "Be careful," Zora warned again, squeezing her arm before disappearing into the crowd. Alicia stood frozen, watching as Max finished his red snack and caught her eye across the room. He smiled and winked, gesturing for her to join him. "Want to try some?" he called as she approached. "It's delicious, very juicy." Alicia's face drained of color. Without a word, she turned and fled. Max found the ship's bathroom door locked, Alicia refusing to respond to his increasingly confused queries. "Alicia, what happened? I was gone for 5 minutes." Silence. "Did someone say something to you? Was it that blue woman?" More silence. Max ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "Look, whatever it is, we can talk about it. Just open the door." "Go away." came the muffled reply. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what's wrong. Max leaned against the door. Is it something I did? Finally, her voice came through, trembling slightly. Are you going to eat me? Max blinked in surprise. Am I what? Zora told me about Earth customs, how men eat their wives if they're not good in bed. Max's mouth fell open. For a second, he was speechless. Then he burst into laughter. It's not funny, Alicia shouted through the door. I'm sorry, Max gasped, trying to control himself. But that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Humans don't eat each other, Alicia. Then why did Zora say, your friend either has a terrible source of information or was messing with you, Max interrupted, or maybe trying to scare you away from me for some reason. Silence again, but he could sense her uncertainty. Alicia, he said gently, I promise on my life I have no intention of eating you, in any literal sense, anyway. The door slid open just a crack. One silver eye peered out suspiciously. You swear? I swear, Max replied, raising his right hand solemnly. Though I have to say, I'm a little hurt you'd think I'm a cannibal. I don't know what to believe anymore, she admitted, opening the door slightly wider. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her usual composure shattered. My whole life has been turned upside down in 2 days. Max's expression softened. I know the feeling. Look, why don't you get some rest? We can head to Kronos in the morning, deliver this artifact, and then figure out how to get you home. She nodded slightly but made no move to leave the bathroom. Alicia, Max said, I meant what I said earlier. I'm not the monster you think I am. Their eyes met, and for a moment something passed between them, an understanding perhaps, or the beginning of trust. The moment was shattered by the ship's alarms blaring to life. Captain, Rusty's voice cut through the noise. We have a problem. The station's security is approaching. They're asking about an Ilkaris female. Max cursed. They found us already? Get the engines hot, Rusty. We're leaving. As they rushed to the cockpit, Max couldn't help wondering who had tipped off security. Serafina, Zora, someone else entirely. One thing was certain. Their trip to Kronos just got a lot more complicated. The lucky bastard blasted away from Nexus Station, trailing security vessels like angry hornets. Max's fingers danced across the control panel, diverting power from non-essential systems to the shields. They're locking weapons, Alicia shouted, gripping the co-pilot's seat. Not for long. Max slammed the ship into a barrel roll, narrowly avoiding the first volley of stun charges. Rusty, we need a blind jump. Now! Captain, blind jumps are extremely dangerous and violate at least 17. Just do it. The AI sighed, an oddly human sound from a synthetic intelligence. Very well. Preparing blind jump. May I remind you how much I despise your tendency toward statistical improbabilities? The security ships closed in, their energy fields attempting to create a blockade. Max dove beneath the station's outer ring, using its massive structure as cover. 3, 2, 1, Rusty counted down. Hold on, Max shouted, reaching over to secure Alicia's harness. Their eyes met for a split second, her silver irises wide with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Space distorted around them as the ship tore into hyperspace, leaving Nexus Station and its pursuing security forces far behind. Jump successful, Rusty announced with audible surprise. Setting course for Kronos, as I assume that remains our destination despite the complete chaos of the past hour. Max released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Good work, Rusty. How long until we reach Kronos? Approximately 12 hours at current velocity. Alicia unstrapped herself, her emerald skin flushed darker with adrenaline. That was exciting. That's one word for it, Max replied, running system diagnostics. You should get some rest. It's been a long day. She hesitated, clearly wanting to say something more, but then nodded and left the cockpit. Max waited until she was gone before slumping back in his chair, exhaustion washing over him. Rusty, Run a full scan of the artifact. I want to know what's so special about this thing that Jorax is willing to clear my entire debt. Scanning now, Captain. Although I must point out that your suspicion comes remarkably late in this endeavor. Better late than never. 3 hours later, Max woke to the sound of his cabin door sliding open. He dozed off in the pilot's chair, the ship safely cruising through hyperspace. He reached for his blaster instinctively. Alicia stood in the doorway, a vision in the soft glow of the ship's night cycle. She'd abandoned her formal attire for a simple thin robe that clung to her perfect figure. Her hair, usually styled immaculately, now fell in loose waves around her shoulders. "We need to talk," she said quietly. Max blinked sleep from his eyes, suddenly very aware of her proximity. "About what?" "About what happened at Nexus Station, about who might have reported us." She moved into the cockpit, perching on the edge of the co-pilot's seat. "I've been thinking. Zora knew I was with a human male. She tried to frighten me with that ridiculous story about humans eating their wives." "You think she reported us?" Alicia's brow furrowed. "It makes sense. What doesn't make sense is why." "Captain," Rusty interrupted, "scan complete. The artifact appears to be a psionic amplifier of Ilkaris design, dating approximately 3,000 years old." Both Max and Alicia froze. "Ilkaris?" Max turned to her, suspicion flaring. "Did you know about this?" "No." Alicia looked genuinely shocked. "Our ancient psionic technology was thought to be lost millennia ago. It was used during the First Convergence War, but the knowledge was supposedly destroyed." Max studied her face, searching for deception but finding none. "So we're delivering an ancient Ilkaris weapon to someone on Kronos, and suddenly security is looking for an Ilkaris female." He ran a hand through his hair. "This job stinks worse than a Grokian swamp beast." Alicia stood suddenly, her robe shifting in ways that made it difficult for Max to concentrate. "I want to see this artifact." They moved to the cargo hold where the small case sat, innocuous despite its apparently significant contents. Max opened it carefully. Inside, a spherical crystal glowed with a soft inner light, intricate patterns etched into its surface. As Alicia approached, the glow intensified, responding to her presence. "It recognizes me," she whispered, reaching out instinctively. "Careful." Max caught her wrist before she could touch it. The contact sent an unexpected surge of heat through him, and he released her quickly. "Sorry," she said, pulling back. "I felt called to it. Let's not touch the ancient mysterious artifact until we know what it does, okay?" Max closed the case firmly. "Rusty, what else can you tell us about this thing?" "Limited information exists in my databases," the AI replied. "Ilkaris psionic technology was rumored to amplify natural abilities. In the wrong hands, it could potentially control or manipulate susceptible minds." Alicia paled, her emerald skin taking on a sickly tint. "Who would want such a thing?" "Someone who wants to control people," Max said grimly. "Rusty, who exactly are we delivering this to on Kronos?" "The recipient is listed as Sigma Corporation, specifically their Chief Operations Officer, Lord Vexon." Alicia gasped. "Vexon? He's a disgraced Ilkaris, exiled for illegal psionic experimentation decades ago." Max cursed. "So we're delivering an ancient mind control device to a disgraced psionic experimenter. What could possibly go wrong?" "We can't deliver it," Alicia stated firmly. "We have to destroy it." "Not so fast." Max paced the small cargo hold. "This thing is getting more complicated by the minute. If we don't deliver, the Syndicate will hunt me down. If we do deliver, we might be enabling some kind of galactic mind control scheme. We need more information before we make a move." Their eyes met across the cargo hold, tension crackling between them that had nothing to do with the artifact. "I'm sorry I thought you were going to eat me," Alicia said suddenly. The absurdity of the statement broke the tension. Max laughed, a genuine sound that seemed to surprise Alicia. "Apology accepted," he replied, "though I'm still offended you thought I'd be a cannibal." She stepped closer. "Perhaps I should make it up to you." Max's breath caught in his throat. "Alicia!" Before he could finish, She closed the distance between them and pressed her lips to his. The kiss was electric, igniting something primal between them. Max responded instantly, his arms encircling her waist, pulling her closer. "Are you sure?" he breathed when they finally broke apart. "I'm tired of rules," she whispered, her silver eyes blazing with newfound determination. "I've spent my entire life following protocols, being the perfect Ilkaris diplomat's daughter. For once, I want to choose." Max needed no further invitation. He swept her into his arms and carried her to the sleeping quarters, their lips never parting. What followed was a night of discovery and passion. Alicia's emerald skin glowed with an inner light as they explored each other, her inexperience balanced by her natural intuition. Max took his time, showing her pleasures she'd never imagined, her soft gasps and commands driving him to the edge of control. "Is this what Zora meant?" she asked breathlessly as they lay tangled together afterward. "About eating?" Max chuckled against her neck. "In a manner of speaking. Though I think the technical term is eating out, not eating." She swatted him playfully, then grew serious. "This changes things." "It doesn't have to," Max replied, tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. "We still have a problem to solve." "Yes, but now we'll solve it together." She propped herself up on one elbow, her silver eyes intense. "I have an idea." Kronos materialized through the view screen, a dark planet dominated by industrial complexes and massive corporate arcologies. The lucky bastard approached the main spaceport, its comm channels quiet. "I still think this is a terrible plan," Max muttered, adjusting his collar. He was dressed in formal attire, resembling a corporate courier rather than a smuggler. "It will work," Alicia replied confidently. She transformed herself as well, her green skin temporarily masked by a hollow shroud that gave her the appearance of a pale Chronosian native. "Trust me." "I do," Max realized with surprise. "That's what worries me." They landed without incident, no security forces waiting to apprehend them. Max secured the artifact case to his wrist with a specialized lock, and they disembarked, heading toward the massive Sigma Corporation headquarters that dominated the skyline. "Remember," Alicia whispered, "act natural. We're just making a routine delivery." The Sigma headquarters was a monument to corporate excess, a gleaming tower of black glass and chrome that stretched up beyond the planet's perpetual cloud cover. Inside, android receptionists processed their credentials without question, directing them to the executive elevator. "Too easy," Max murmured as they ascended toward the upper floors. "Arrogance makes people careless," Alicia replied. "Vexen doesn't expect resistance. He thinks he's already won." The elevator opened directly into a massive office with panoramic views of the smog-choked planet. Standing by the window was a tall, imposing figure, an Ilkaris male with unusually pale green skin that bordered on gray. His silver eyes had a metallic quality that Max found disturbing. "Ah, my delivery has arrived," Lord Vexon said, turning to face them. "Right on schedule." Max stepped forward, the case handcuffed to his wrist. "Lord Vexan, one artifact as commissioned." Vexan smiled, a cold expression that never reached his eyes. "And you've brought a guest. How unexpected." With a gesture, Alicia's hollow shroud shimmered and failed, revealing her true appearance. She gasped in surprise. "Did you really think such primitive technology would fool me?" Vexen chuckled. "I sensed your psionic signature the moment you entered the building, Alicia Judds." Max reached for his concealed blaster, but invisible force pinned his arms to his sides. "Please," Vexen sighed. "Let's dispense with the theatrics. You're here. The artifact is here. Everything is proceeding exactly as planned." "What plan?" Max demanded, struggling against the psionic restraint. "My plan to restore the Ilkaris to their rightful place in the galaxy," Vexen replied, "with a few modifications to ensure proper compliance." He pressed a control on his desk, and a security team entered. Massive humanoids with cybernetic enhancements seized Max, unlocking the case from his wrist. "Take him to detention," Vexen ordered. "He'll be charged with violation of interspecies relations laws. Humans attempting to mate with Ilkaris females is strictly prohibited under Galactic Code 5592. The penalty is quite severe. What? Max sputtered. That's not a real law. It will be, Vexen smiled, once the Galactic Council hears testimony about the barbaric human practice of consuming their mates. The timing of your arrest alongside the rescue of a High Counselor's daughter will prove most convenient for pushing through new regulations restricting human trade routes. Understanding dawned on Max. You created that rumor about humans eating their wives. A simple but effective piece of propaganda, Vexen confirmed. Humans are already viewed with suspicion throughout much of the galaxy. It wasn't difficult to plant the seed. As the guards dragged Max away, Vexen turned to Alicia. As for you, my dear, you'll be given the highest protection, of course. A traumatized victim of human barbarism, rescued just in time. My father will never believe that, Alicia said defiantly. Your father will believe exactly what I tell him to believe, Vexen replied, opening the artifact case. The crystal sphere glowed intensely in his presence. Once this amplifier is activated, I'll have the power to influence any mind in my presence, including the entire Galactic Council during emergency session tomorrow. Alicia's eyes widened in horror. That's your plan? To control the Council? Control is such an ugly word. I prefer guide. Vexen lifted the sphere reverently. Under my guidance, the galaxy will finally achieve order, starting with the containment of the human threat. The guards returned, seizing Alicia more gently but no less firmly. Take her to the diplomatic quarters, Vexen instructed. Ensure she's comfortable but secure. Tomorrow she'll serve as the perfect face of our liberation campaign. Max paced his detention cell, searching for weaknesses in the security system. The cell was state-of-the-art. Energy fields instead of physical barriers, constant surveillance, and neural dampeners that made his thoughts feel sluggish. You've really done it this time, Tremble, he muttered to himself. Alicia was somewhere in this building. Vexen was planning to mind control the Galactic Council, and he was stuck in a cell with no way to contact Rusty or activate their backup plan. A soft chime indicated someone approaching. Max positioned himself near the cell entrance, ready to rush out if an opportunity presented itself. The energy field flickered and disappeared. Standing there was the last person he expected to see, Quatra, the four-armed purple woman from Nexus Station. Surprise, she whispered, all three of her lips curved in a mischievous smile. Quatra? What the hell are you doing here? Saving your ass, obviously. She tossed him a security pass and a blaster. The security feeds are looped for the next 10 minutes. After that, you're on your own. Max stared at her in disbelief. How did you even know I was here? Quatra winked. Let's just say word travels fast when the famous human hero gets himself arrested. You have quite the fan club across the galaxy, you know. Girls talk. Girls talk? Max repeated, dumbfounded. Did you think that viral vid only made you famous? It made you a symbol. She grinned. The human who risked everything to save a woman. Very sexy. Very romantic. So you're telling me that there's an unofficial network of females from dozens of species who keep tabs on you? Yes. She checked her timepiece. You have 9 minutes now. Your Ilkaris female is on level 82, diplomatic quarters. Vexen is preparing for tomorrow's council meeting in the penthouse. Max shook his head in amazement. I don't know how to thank you. Oh, I'm sure you can think of something later. Quatra winked all 4 of her eyes. Now move. 2 security guards collapsed unconscious as Max rounded the corner to the diplomatic quarters. He stepped over their bodies cautiously, blaster raised. Max! Alicia rushed toward him as he disabled the lock on her suite. Her relief was palpable, her usual composure abandoned as she threw her arms around him. How did you escape? She asked. Would you believe I have a galaxy-wide fan club of women who think I'm hot? She pulled back, raising an eyebrow. Actually, yes, that explains a lot. We need to move, Max said, checking the corridor. Vexen is in the penthouse with the artifact. The council meeting is tomorrow. Alicia's expression hardened with determination. I can stop him, but I need to get close to that artifact. My psionic abilities, are probably exactly what he's counting on, Max interrupted. We need a different approach. He reached into his boot, extracting a small device. I had Rusty analyze the artifact while you were sleeping. This disruptor should destabilize it enough to render it useless. You planned for this? Alicia looked impressed. I always plan for things to go wrong, Max replied with a grin. Occupational hazard. Now let's go crash a party. The penthouse level was surprisingly unguarded, a testament to Vexen's arrogance or his confidence in his psionic abilities. Max and Alicia moved silently through luxurious corridors decorated with priceless artifacts from a dozen worlds. They found Vexen in a massive circular chamber. The artifact hovered in a containment field at the center, glowing with increasing intensity. Vexen stood before it, arms outstretched, his body suffused with a pale light that seemed to flow between him and the sphere. He's bonding with it, Alicia whispered, establishing the psionic link. If he completes the process, he won't, Max replied grimly, pulling out the disruptor. They stepped into the chamber and Vexen turned instantly as if he'd been aware of their presence all along. How predictable, he sighed. The human rescues the damsel. So tiresome. With a casual gesture, he sent Max flying across the room, the disruptor skittering away across the polished floor. Did you really think I wouldn't sense your approach? Vexen laughed. Your primitive minds broadcast your intentions like sirens. He turned to Alicia, his expression softening to one of false concern. My dear, you've been corrupted by this human. Fortunately, once the amplifier is fully activated, I can help you forget all about him. Perhaps I'll even let you watch while I order him executed for his crimes against our people. Our people? Alicia spat. You were exiled decades ago. You're no Ilkaris. I am the future of the Ilkaris, Vexen hissed, his composure cracking. While our leaders cower in isolation, I will restore our rightful dominance of the galaxy. He seized Alicia with a psionic grip, dragging her toward him. Your noble bloodline makes you the perfect vessel. Together, we can accomplish so much more. Max struggled to his feet, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. The disruptor lay just meters away, but Vexen's attention was focused entirely on Alicia. I don't want to hurt you, Vexen told her, his voice almost gentle as he caressed her face. You'll understand once you've experienced the amplifier's power. Alicia's eyes met Max's across the room. A silent communication passed between them. You're right, she said suddenly, relaxing in Vexen's grip. Show me this power. Vexen smiled triumphantly, pulling her toward the glowing sphere. Together, we will reshape the galaxy. As they approached the artifact, its glow intensified, responding to the presence of two Ilkaris. Vexen guided Alicia's hand toward the surface of the sphere. Feel its power, he whispered. Embrace your true potential. The moment her fingers touched the crystal, Alicia's body surged with emerald light, so bright it momentarily blinded everyone in the room. She screamed, not in pain but in release, as if something long dormant inside her had awakened. What is this? Vexen stumbled back, shielding his eyes. What are you doing? I'm not doing anything, Alicia replied, her voice resonating with newfound power. The artifact is responding to my bloodline. Did you forget that my grandmother was High Priestess of the Ancient Order, the very ones who created this technology? Emerald energy poured from her fingertips into the sphere, which now pulsed with a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. Far from being controlled by the artifact, she was controlling it. I don't want to lose you, she shouted to Max, who had retrieved the disruptor and was rushing toward her. You won't, he called back, activating the device and sliding it across the floor toward the artifact. Vexen lunged for it, but too late. The disruptor touched the base of the containment field and detonated, sending a cascade of energy through the system. The artifact's glow flared blindingly, then abruptly died. The backlash sent waves of psionic energy outward, knocking everyone to the ground. In the sudden silence, Alicia rose first, her skin still faintly luminescent. Vexen lay prone nearby, his connection to the artifact violently severed. You've ruined everything, he gasped, struggling to rise. No, Alicia replied calmly. "I've saved everyone from you, including myself." Max approached cautiously, blaster trained on Vexen. "You okay?" Alicia nodded, the glow fading from her skin. "I accessed the artifact's memory banks before it deactivated. I have proof of everything, Vexen's plot, the propaganda against humans, all of it." "Excellent work," a new voice announced. They turned to find the entrance filled with armed soldiers bearing the insignia of the Galactic Council Security Force. "What took you so long?" Max asked. The commander stepped forward, removing his helmet to reveal a blue-skinned face with 3 eyes. "Traffic was terrible," he deadpanned. "Plus, we had to wait for appropriate warrants. The Council takes legal procedure very seriously." 3 days later, Max and Alicia stood before the Galactic Council in its majestic chamber on the neutral world of Terra Nova. The semicircular hall was filled with representatives from 100 species, all focused on the testimony being presented. "Based on the evidence provided by Alicia Judds and Maxime Tremble," the Chief Justice announced, "this council finds Lord Vexen guilty of conspiracy against the Galactic Alliance, illegal technological experimentation, and propagation of false information designed to incite interspecies conflict." Vexen, bound in psionic dampeners, showed no reaction as his sentence was read: permanent exile to the prison colony on Tartarus Niphant. "Furthermore," the justice continued, "the Council officially retracts and denounces all claims regarding humans consuming their mates. A formal apology will be issued to Earth representatives, and all trade restrictions based on this falsehood will be immediately lifted." Max squeezed Alicia's hand as they stood to receive the Council's commendation. "Miss Judds," the High Chancellor addressed her directly, "in recognition of your service, the Council rescinds your slave status and offers you reinstatement to your former diplomatic position on Ilkaris, with promotion to senior envoy." Alicia straightened, every inch the diplomat she'd been raised to be. "I am honored by the offer, Chancellor, but I must decline." A murmur of surprise rippled through the chamber. "May I ask why?" the Chancellor inquired. Alicia's eyes found Max's, a silent communication passing between them. "I have discovered a new path, one that allows me to serve the galaxy in a different capacity." The Chancellor nodded, understanding in his ancient eyes. "As you wish. The Council recognizes your right to self-determination." As they left the chamber, Max pulled Alicia into a quiet alcove. "Did you mean that? About finding a new path?" "I belong with you," she replied simply. "Not because of some cosmic roulette game or ancient law, but because I choose to." Max grinned, pulling her close. "Even though I'm just a disreputable human smuggler?" "The most famous human smuggler in the galaxy," she corrected, her lips brushing his, "with excellent stamina, as I've discovered." 6 months later, the lucky bastard, newly refitted and gleaming, soared through space with a reputation as the most reliable courier service in the Outer Rim. With Alicia's diplomatic connections and Max's, well, less official ones, they'd built a thriving business delivering high-value cargo throughout the galaxy. They lay on the golden sands of Risa, twin pink suns setting over the crystalline ocean. Max's arm curved protectively around Alicia, her emerald skin glowing with health and happiness. "You're the most reckless man I've ever known," Alicia murmured, tracing patterns on his chest. "Yet you're still here," Max replied with a smile. "Because you're the most delicious," she answered, a blush darkening her cheeks as she moved closer. Their lips met in a passionate kiss, her emerald skin luminous with joy. As the suns disappeared below the horizon, Max caught the eye of a passing tourist and winked. Some legends, after all, only get better with time. Epilogue: The Max Tremble Fan Club. Several months after the Kronos incident, the lucky bastard docked at Nexus Station for what Max assured Alicia would be a quick supply run. 4 hours later, she found herself seated at a large circular table in a private room of the Nebula Bar, surrounded by 27 females of various species, all staring at her with intense curiosity. Welcome to the quarterly meeting of the official Max Tremble Appreciation Society, announced Quatra, her four arms gesturing ceremoniously as her three lips formed a broad smile. We're honored to finally meet the woman who captured the heart of our favorite human. Alicia looked around in stunned silence. The attendees ranged from the blue-skinned Proxima women to tentacled Zeltronians, from scaled Draconis females to the ethereal gas-based mist entities that hovered near the ceiling. "This is real?" she finally managed. "Oh, honey, we've been tracking Max for years," said a crimson-skinned Valerian, her horns decorated with "I Love Earthmen" stickers. "Ever since that viral rescue video." "We have chapters on 17 planets," added a serpentine woman, proudly displaying her membership badge. "I run the Galactic Hub division." "I have a Max shrine in my sleeping chamber," confessed another, to enthusiastic nods from several others. A holographic display activated in the center of the table, showing a galactic map with a blinking dot representing the lucky bastard's historical flight paths. "We've been monitoring his movement since that blue girl's father started hunting him," explained Quatra. "It became a whole operation, warning him about bounty hunters, clearing docking bays, occasionally sabotaging competitors' ships." "Remember when he needed that quantum carburetor on Zeta 9? Called out a voice from the back. "And we had Grelka accidentally drop one near his ship?" Another answered, prompting a round of laughter. "Wait," Alicia interrupted, realization dawning. "You're saying you've been secretly helping him all this time, even before we met?" "Darling, why do you think his luck is so reliable?" said an elegant feathered woman. "The man couldn't find his way out of a paper bag without us." "The Chronos prison break was our finest hour," Quatra said proudly. 17 operatives, 4 security systems, and one very confused guard who still thinks he was abducted by space pixies. Alicia couldn't help but laugh. "Does Max know about any of this?" The room erupted in giggles. "Men never notice the obvious," said the Valerian, rolling all 4 of her eyes. "We prefer to maintain the illusion that he's extraordinarily capable," added Quatra. "It's better for his ego." "And more fun for us," chimed in several voices. A small, squeaky alien passed Alicia a membership card. "You're an honorary member now. The Max Tremble Girlfriend Experience Subcommittee meets every other Thursday." As if on cue, Max's voice came through Alicia's communicator. "Babe, you won't believe this. I just found a rare ionic converter for half price. The dealer practically insisted I take it." Behind him, Alicia could clearly see 2 green-tentacled females giving thumbs-up signals to the camera, while a third placed the part in his path. "Amazing luck, as usual," Alicia replied, winking at the roomful of conspirators. "You always seem to find exactly what you need." 27 different species of female laughter filled the room as Max continued, oblivious. "I know. I'm just that good." The end.